Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a totally mind-bending paradox, the economics of virtual worlds. Think about it. We're looking at environments where you can literally spawn a million swords with just the click of a button, where land can be infinitely generated, and yet billions of real-world dollars are changing hands every single year. Real-world economics starts with one undeniable fact, right? Scarcity. But virtual worlds, they start with the exact opposite, absolute abundance. So how on earth do we bridge that gap? Well, let's start with a very simple question.
Seriously, how can a completely digital item, something made of infinite, costless pixels, command the price of a used car? You've got Counter-Strike knives selling for 10 grand, or Bored Apes going for $400,000. It kind of defies all natural logic, doesn't it? If the supply of something is infinite, the price should theoretically be zero. We saw this play out years ago with digital music piracy. But these virtual economies, they are booming, and it all comes down to a fundamental clash between physical reality and digital architecture.
The core conflict here is pretty straightforward. When you build a second car out of real-world atoms, you need steel, human labor, time. It's naturally scarce. But when you make a second MP3 file or a second digital sword out of bits, the marginal cost is exactly zero. You just hit copy, paste, and you're done. So if digital items naturally lack limits, the only way a functioning market can actually exist is if someone artificially puts those limits back in.
To make sense of all this, here is our roadmap for Metaverse Economics 101. Today, we're going to cover the digital scarcity paradox, faucets, sinks, and inflation, the virtual land illusion, labor in virtual worlds, and finally, what the future virtual economy looks like.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the digital scarcity paradox. This is all about how you invent rivalry in a limitless world.
So here's the secret sauce, artificial scarcity. Because digital goods are naturally non-rival, meaning my use of a digital file doesn't stop you from using it, developers have to actively invent rivalry. They literally have to enforce limits. Epic Games steps in and says, okay, there will only be 10,000 of this specific Fortnite skin. Or the Decentraland protocol caps its map at exactly 90,000 parcels. Humans are taking a limitless world and hard-coding scarcity into it just to create demand. Ultimately, value in the virtual world equals utility plus scarcity plus belief.
But what's really fascinating here is how fragile this illusion actually is. Take a $20 Fortnite skin, for example. It's balancing on four very fragile pillars of scarcity. It has a legal copyright, a hard cap written directly into the code, a social status element where players really want to flex it, and it was probably part of a time-limited event. If even one of these pillars breaks, say Epic Games just decides to re-release that rare skin, breaking the time scarcity, the social status vanishes instantly, and the price completely collapses. Scarcity is a very delicate illusion.
Moving right along to Section 2, faucets, sinks, and inflation. Let's look at how developers manage the virtual money supply.
Welcome to MMO Economics 101. This is a lesson game developers have been learning the hard way since the text-based mud games back in the 1980s. A faucet is simply how money enters the game, like slaying a dragon and getting 100 gold. A sink is how money is permanently removed, like spending 500 gold at an NPC shop to buy a sword or repair your armor. It's incredibly simple math. If the faucet mints more gold than the sink burns, you get guaranteed rapid inflation. The sword that cost 500 gold today is going to cost 5,000 by tomorrow. And what this really means is that game developers are functioning as central bankers. They're literally the Federal Reserve of their digital realms. They have to constantly tweak monetary policy, cutting token emission rates, airdropping tokens, adding breeding fees, or banning bot accounts, just to keep their economies from completely imploding. I mean, EVE Online took this so seriously, they hired a real, actual PhD economist to manage their spaceships. They eventually started publishing quarterly reports for an in-game GDP of $1 billion. It just goes to show you that virtual economics is real economics.
But what happens when developers aren't economists? Well, you get a jaw-dropping 99% crash. That's exactly what happened to the GST token in the Web3 game Step In. It was billed as a walk-to-earn game. As more users walked, more GST poured out of the faucet, and the supply exploded by 1,000 times. The new money was basically paying for the old money, and the second the new money stopped flowing in, the entire economy just collapsed. It's a brutal, real-time reminder that you absolutely cannot print infinite money without destroying value.
That brings us to Section 3, the virtual land illusion. Let's unpack exactly why location, status, and pixels get priced the way they do.
Do you remember the hype? People really bought into the pitch that buying virtual land was exactly like buying Manhattan in 1626. The idea was, buy now, hold for a few decades, and become a virtual real estate mogul. But then reality hit. A brutal 97% crash in virtual land prices between 2021 and 2026. Why? Because the Manhattan analogy was completely flawed from the start. Manhattan has real people, real laws, and finite physical space. The metaverse? It's infinite, governed entirely by code, and, frankly, mostly empty.
This totally exposes what economists call the location fallacy. In the real world, businesses cluster together to capture foot traffic. Makes sense, right? But in a virtual world, teleportation is completely free and instant. Why on earth would you pay a massive premium to be next door to Snoop Dogg's virtual mansion if anyone can teleport anywhere else in a millisecond? Premium location only matters if moving actually takes time. And worse, what if Snoop Dogg just updates his coordinates and moves? Boom, your massive land premium vanishes into thin air. The old golden rule of location, location, location completely falls apart when space is limitless.
The economic fallout from this was absolutely devastating. Back in 2021, the pitch was that you could buy a virtual parcel and rent it out to a brand like a digital billboard, bringing in $10,000 a week in some virtual fashion district. But fast forward to 2026, without any real tenants, actual users, or eyeballs, that weekly rent plummeted to a measly $50. It turns out, if there's no demand and no attention, the yield is completely fake. Scarcity without demand is literally worthless.
Let's pivot to Section 4, Labor in Virtual Worlds. We're talking gold farming, user-generated content, and global wage arbitrage. I absolutely love looking at this comparison because it highlights a massive 20-year shift in virtual jobs. Think back to 2004, you had World of Warcraft gold farmers in overseas sweatshops doing grueling manual grinding for 50 cents an hour. Fast forward to 2021, and Axie Infinity scholars in the Philippines were doing the exact same thing for $5 an hour. Both are classic examples of global wage arbitrage, a player in a rich country paying someone in a poor country to do the boring work. It's pure value extraction. But look at the difference now. Modern Roblox developers are building massive, sustainable incomes through actual value creation. To put that value creation into perspective, get a load of this number. In 2023, Roblox paid out a staggering $800 million in a single year to its creators. We are talking about the birth of a totally new digital middle class. You've got 17-year-olds with no college degree pulling in over $7 million a year just by writing Lua code and 3D modeling. It is wild.
The secret to a lasting virtual economy all boils down to sustainable labor. That play-to-earn model we saw with Axie Infinity, it relied heavily on digital sharecropping, managers owning the assets while scholars did tedious, mind-numbing grinding just to extract a token. And when that token price crashed, the wages crashed right along with it, down to 10 cents an hour. It wasn't fun, and it definitely wasn't sustainable. Roblox survives and thrives because it relies on genuine, user-generated content. It's real creative labor that builds actual value and fun for the players.
Finally, we reach Section 5, the future virtual economy. Let's look ahead to 2030, regulations, and the massive impact of AI.
Those virtual Wild West days? Yeah, they are rapidly coming to an end. By 2027, under new OECD rules, crypto exchanges are going to automatically report your play-to-earn income straight to the tax authorities. By 2030, expect strict know-your-customer rules just to log into a game, complete with 1099 tax forms for your virtual side gigs. But the absolute biggest shock to the system will be AI. When artificial intelligence can instantly turn a simple text prompt into a fully fleshed out 3D world, the supply of basic creative labor will multiply by 100, which is going to drive standard virtual wages straight to the floor.
But hey, it's not all doom and gloom. Several sustainable business models are actually poised to thrive by 2030. The big winners will be platforms like Roblox that use a free-to-play model with real revenue sharing. We're also going to see highly regulated gig economy-style games and cosmetic-only economies where you earn and sell skins, completely ditching those hyperinflationary Ponzi tokens of the past. The games that survive the decade will be the ones laser-focused on real utility and strict compliance.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to keep this golden rule in mind. Code changes the rules, but it doesn't change the rules of economics. Virtual worlds aren't some separate, magical reality, they're really just economies with cheat codes. You can invent digital scarcity, you can print virtual money out of thin air, but you absolutely cannot escape economic gravity.
If you print too much money, it devalues. If the work pays nothing, the workers leave. It's that simple.
And I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought to chew on. If human attention is truly the only real natural scarcity left in these digital worlds, what happens to the value of everything we've just talked about when AI can instantly generate any item, any world, and any experience we want at absolutely zero cost? Thanks for exploring this with me today.